am back again, and today I'm going to talk to you about a multi-tool that's made by Leatherman called the Signal. There it is right there. I've seen this tool get some hate on the internet, and I wanted to give you my 2 cents on it. I think the reason that it gets so much negative heat is it's, unlike most multi-tools, it is targeted at survival, which is a very lofty goal. You can have an entire gigantic backpack full of gear for that purpose. The idea to cram all of that down into something this big for the price that it's asking is something that could be a goal that could very easily fall short of people's expectations. I see this as it is attempting to do a small part of a larger purpose. Can it do the things that it's advertising it can do? Does it do them better than the tools on their own? First knife I ever got in my whole life was a Swiss Army knife from my dad. And I remember he sat me down and went, look, the strength of this is that you will have it with you. It will be on your person, but don't ever think that this can replace the tools that it has in it. The tiny little saw is not gonna cut down a tree. He told me it's not the tools you have at home in your toolbox, it's the tools you have with you when you need them. And there's a lot higher chance that you're gonna be carrying a Swiss Army knife than an entire box of tools on you at some time. So that is what I think this is for. That's what it's for and what it does, and it achieves it. I don't think it's a realistic goal to expect this to do what an entire backpack of survival tools can do. It's kind of like the difference between like an emergency ration and like turkey dinner on Thanksgiving at grandma's house, right? Emergency ration is anywhere near comparable taste-wise or, enjoyability-wise to grandma's home-cooked turkey dinner. But you won't die because you have it, and that's good. You're not dead. Awesome. And I think that's what the strength of this tool is. I think the way that you advance these is through trial and error. And I think Leatherman, one of the things they do amazingly well is not just sticking with what they know works. They try new things, they push new ideas, and when they don't work, they burn them. They go, okay, let's move on. Let's not use that anymore, or let's move to something that does work. I think they're good about that. Let's take this over to the bench, and I will show you what it's all about. Right. Whew. Have you ever had one of those days where life just keeps reapplying its foot to your crotch over and over and over again? I have had one of those today. So this is actually take 3. The first time through, my D850 decided to just kind of like take a little vacation, turn off. It's kind of a bummer. The second take, both of my GoPros decided to just go, hey, like we thought we had a lot more batteries than we did, so we don't. And now here I am, 3rd time's the charm. Let's see how this goes. We're talking about the Leatherman Signal. You ready to see this? You ready? You ready? You ready? You ready? Nothing up the sleeves, nothing up the sleeves. Nothing on the table. Okay, either that worked or it didn't work, and I'm just gonna say here's the Leatherman Signal because my cheesy editing thing didn't work. I'm gonna go over the features and tools that it has, the things that I think make it a viable potential backup if you get yourself in trouble. I wouldn't say this eliminates the need for all other tools. Some useful stuff nestled away inside. So let's count them down, starting from the outside. The first most easy thing to see right there, there's they list it as an impact tool. It's a blunt edge that you can use. It's steel, smack down on a tent peg, or I actually used, there's the Mutt, the much larger tactical version of the Signal. It's a much larger, bulkier tool, and it's mainly made for firearms maintenance, but it's very large and heavy. And I used this to break a vehicle window one time, and it worked very well. It worked extremely well in doing that. So one of those things that you don't really need to have all the time, but when you do need one, you better have it. If you look right here, there's a little bit driver. You can put a standard size bit in there. It also has a smaller size bit hole. You can use 2 different size bits, which is kind of cool. And it will fit the bits that come in here, the Leatherman flat bits, but there is no retention in there, so be careful. So if you're like tinkering around in an engine compartment in a car, and you put it this way, it's gonna fall out. And if that's the only screwdriver you have, now you don't have a screwdriver. Bit driver right there, tool number 2. And we probably shouldn't count these off because I'm gonna forget what tool we're on, but whatever. On the outside, first thing up, you got a saw. It's a pretty tiny saw. It's not real big, but it's better than not having a saw, I'll tell you that. If you're just walking around barehanded and for some reason you needed to really like process something, you know, wood. I don't, maybe this could make it through metal. Definitely fiberglass. If you tried to break fiberglass with your hands, you know, it's just gonna turn into like burlap, splintery, painful burlap. But a saw would be a great way. So if you're trying to prepare a canoe or something, this would be a great option. It's a nice little opening eyelet slot right there. It opens very easily, and there's kind of a hidden Easter egg in here too. I'll show you later that it helps with retention for that. There's a nice liner lock on the inside. You just push your thumb right here, press down, and now you're closed again. It's got a combination blade. I'm not a big serrated guy. I would prefer to see a straight blade all the way across, but some people leave those. As we keep going around, we're getting to two of the more controversial tools that are on here. You can see it straight from the edge. It actually is outside of the housing of the tool, but there's a fire steel right there, which you could use not even opening the tool. You could use it right from here if you had something to spark against it. And then on the other side, there's a sharpener, a really tiny sharpener. There's a diamond dust coated sharpening tool. I can see why people were a little bit let down. I think engineering-wise, this is pretty cool. They use the lockback mechanism that holds the handle tools open. So when you press this down, it clears a space and the sharpener can pop out like that. And now you got this guy. I think you would have more luck rather than running the blade across this tiny 1-inch surface. If you have a larger blade, you're running the sharpener down the blade, right? So you could sharpen something larger rather than trying to maximize the horizontal, you know, plane of that. You move this along the blade. Would I want to sharpen a machete with this? Not really, but if it's better than nothing, you could use like a river stone, you know, and some water to sharpen something, but you know, you got this on you. So if you're in your tent and it's 2 a.m. and for some reason you can't sleep because you're freaked out because you're stuck in an avalanche and you want to sharpen your knife, then bam, there you go. So there's another tool. You got a sharpener. On the other side, you got that fire steel, and the way you access that, I actually really like this. There's a little retention clip, and what that does on a lot of multi-tools, if they're in your pocket or you're wiggling them around and you fall down a hill or something, you're gonna pop open, and when it does, now you got pliers by themselves are almost like a steel arrowhead, and if that's next to your thigh in a cargo pant pocket or something, and it stabs into your, you know, into your leg, that's a big problem. I really like the fact that they have this retention clip in here, so once it's closed, it's not coming open anytime soon. And once you open that, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little silver clip, and when you push this down, well, bam, this flies out, and it's the housing for the ferro rod, and then there's also an emergency whistle in there. A lot of people weren't too jazzed about the emergency whistle. You know, not everybody needs them all the time. Done a pretty significant amount of outdoor survival training and emergency medical training. I'll tell you now that just from doing simulations and different types of like mass casualty simulations, if you have to sit and call for help with just your voice, 15 minutes of that at like your loudest volume gets real old real fast. And a whistle, never had one lesson. A whistle is a good way to preserve your throat. You're not gonna just shred your throat screaming, and it's a high decibel level so people can hear that. There's a good chance they're gonna hear a whistle better than they'd hear your voice at distance. A lot of people were kind of bummed about the size of the ferro rod. It's not the biggest ferro rod. I think there's a lot of stuff in my tool bench. I'm gonna edit this out so you guys never see it, but I looked for a while for this. Aha! So that's a standard size ferro rod, and you can see it's much larger. Radius of the rod itself. Professional, bring it together. In an emergency situation, you'll get way more strokes out of this rod than you will this one. The spine of the saw has a real nice angle on it, and you can just take that. I made sparks, and with sparks come fire, right? So, you know, you had tinder, you can shoot on there. Oh, something these are great for is these little guys right here. So if you use like a jet boil, this one has an electric igniter, right? You hit this little thing, and I don't think you're gonna be able to see that, but it makes a tiny little spark, like you might be able to see that. And it ignites the fuel. A lot of times those little things will break or it doesn't come with one. So I have a couple ultralight stoves that don't have an electric igniter. Ferro rods are fantastic for lighting gas-based cooking stoves. So it's nice to have that. So that's a pro. I mean, you know, how many multi-tools can you light a stove with? And let's go on to the inside of the tool. One thing that's really cool that Leatherman does, and I think some other multi-tools do this, but I like that they have this, is there's these two little ramps right here. And when you open the pliers, we were talking about the blade, and I was saying there's an extra safety feature. There's a tiny little stud right there inside the thumb slot. And as you open this, there's a device on the inside. There's a piece of metal right there. And it pushes that ramp and goes into the eyelet of that thumb slot. So now you can't open the knife while this is open. While the pliers are deployed, you can't open the knife. And your palm will thank you for that, because if you're, you know, really torquing on something with the pliers and the knife flies open into your palm, that's a bad day, right? Like nobody needs a knife in their hand. And so onto these pliers, I just looked down at them and I thought about it. One thing I really like that they do, and I don't think this is a Leatherman exclusive kind of thing, one of the things that they do is they have these tungsten carbide cutters in there. And there's a torque bolt right there. You just take that out, and if you ding these these up real bad, you know, if you're cutting through chain link fence or really heavy gauge wire and they just start getting shredded, you can pop these out, and hypothetically you could try to resharpen them yourself. It's just a bevel grind, so you can put them on like an you know, a grinder, or use an angle grinder with a vise. I'm sure they're not that expensive to replace, but that's much better than losing the whole tool, right? Because like if the whole tool just eats it, and then you got to throw the whole thing away because the pliers are no good. But I really like that. They mesh together very well. Their clearance and tolerance when they close is very good. I used a pair of Leatherman pliers on a Leatherman Charge, I think, one time to pick a big piece of automotive glass out of my elbow. It was in there enough that it was very hard to get out with tweezers. Like, tweezers weren't really doing the job, and they kept slipping because the glass was really slippery, and my fingers couldn't get it, and I was just basically pushing the glass deeper into my elbow. And I had a multi-tool. I had a Leatherman at the time, and I used that really pointy needle-nosed plier that also has really good hold. You know, it's very precise, and managed to get the glass out of my elbow doing that. Another really unconventional use of it was I had a coworker. We were meeting with a client. Visual appearance was really important that day, and he had shaved his face. He did a great job, but he missed like one hair way up here. He'd been on vacation for a while, and he had a beard, and he left like one hair, and I'm standing next to him, and I was just like, dude, we gotta do something about that. Like, that's not gonna be acceptable. And after, you know, several minutes of very awkwardly trying to pull his, you know, one beard hair out with his fingers, I got out a Leatherman and grabbed it and pulled it out. And so I don't think Leatherman advertises this as a manscaping tool, but they should. You can tame your beard one hair at a time with one of these bad boys. But yeah, so you get your pliers, and then inside the handle, you got some pretty standard tools. Nothing super crazy, but it's nice. I really like the removable bit driver system that Leatherman uses. There is a retention spring in there, so this bit is held in, so you can put it in like that, and you can do your screwing from any angle. It's held in there, and it's not going to fall out, right? So if you're getting either into something or down, or you're bonking because you're missing something, it's not going to fall out, because if you lose that bit, that could be it. Slogan right there, Leatherman. It'll also fit in the driver in the handle. It's not like the best fit, but it will fit in there. Hypothetically, if you had to really torque on something, using these handles by themselves, that would be pretty hard. You could put it in here, and now you have this whole handle to, you know, crank down on as you're turning. So you're gonna get, it's a big handle to turn rather than just twisting this way. And one of the few, I'd say, cons I have with their design, and I understand why they did this, because it's a big jigsaw puzzle and everything has to fit in a piece, but you can't close the handle when the bit driver is extended, which is kind of a pain in the butt. Like, you do have a nice little kind of like fin right here to hold on to, you know, so you can twist as you're going, but it would have been nice if this secured. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but it's not that bad. You have an awl. I've never needed an awl for anything, but they keep putting them on multi-tools, so somebody out there must be using them. It's not me. Can opener, which I'm a big fan of. Can openers are extremely useful. It's always a good thing to have. An interesting little combination Easter egg hidden feature on there is right below the can opener. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a beveled edged cutting tool right there, almost like a shroud cutter, but you could use that to cut twine, you know, anything that you wanted to you just delta it into this position, and there's two blades right there that are gonna cut through stuff. Good use of empty space, you know, on a tool. Like normally on a can opener, that would just be dead space that does nothing. It's cool that they put something there. You could even, in a pinch, you could use that as a nail puller, you know, like as the back of like a hammer almost. Weird fun feature, the awl on here. Doesn't close with the screwdriver out, but it sure closes with the awl out, so another fun fact, you can deploy the regular blade. So now, your serious business coming and going. How many knives can do that, right? I mean, I don't know if you're gonna need that unless you're Mad Max. But I don't know how many tools that worked up to. I'll try to have like a running tally on the side of this screen somewhere, maybe over there somewhere. Dave in the future, get it done. The carabiner also has a bottle opener in it right here. So there's like a little tiny tooth, and you can use that to hook under the lid of a bottle. So if you want to open a beer or a soda or, you know, whatever you got, you can do that, which is useful. I think that's pretty cool. You know, why not throw one more function in there? The build quality I think is great. Leatherman makes awesomely built tools. Like there's just, you know, it's well put together. It feels like a quality tool. I think I've probably bought at least 8 or 9 different Leathermans in my life, and I had a rebar once that didn't line up right when you closed it. And I wrote them an email, and they just sent me a new one. Like, they just sent me a different one. I sent that one back in, and it was a done deal. So they take good care of their customers. This one, it's the black and steel and coyote brown kind of flat dark earth combination color scheme. They have an all black and yellow one, and to me it had like a construction theme. It looked like you should be using it while you're using it in your bulldozer or your backhoe or something, and that wasn't really my deal, but I like the colors on this one a lot. I thought they did a really good job. I wouldn't mind seeing more of their tools in kind of a neutral color like that. Let's do an and section of this review. So the ahas are the things that worked. Build quality, great. Fit and finish, I think, are very, very well done.
It's not an extremely expensive like tool, so for what you're getting, it's a good value. I think one of its biggest strengths is it does a lot of things passively. Like it could assist you in many things, and for an extremely small form factor, that's not a lot of pocket space. How much space it would be to take all those tools. I don't know how many there were off the top of my head. We'll put a number, you know, up here somewhere. So like this many. Think about how much body real estate that would take to carry all that. On this, the nuh-uhs, the things that didn't work well. I really wish that wire gate had a little flange on the side. It really bothers me when they don't. It's just, it makes it's a very small modification, and it pays off a lot. You know, when you're hanging on a ladder or at the door of a vehicle or something and you're trying to fidget with something, just having it on the side makes it much easier. I'm not a big fan of that combination serrade straight edge blade. Ferro rod, I wish it was larger. I'm not really sure why they didn't go. Maybe it interferes with the way it opens or something. Yeah, I think that's exactly it. If it was any bigger, it would actually run into the sharpener right there. So I think that's why. But like I said, it's kind of an emergency fire steel. It's not meant to keep you warm while you patrol the Arctic Circle for 8 months. I think that's about it for me. Like for most things on here, I really liked it. I like the idea of having those little things that could kind of get you by in a pinch. You know, let's say you get in some weird situation where for whatever reason you get separated with your pack and you have all that other stuff in there, and this happens to be in your pocket or maybe like strapped in a sheath to your waist. Those aren't gonna keep you sustained forever, but that's a lot better than not having them. If a friend came to me and asked should they buy this, I would say yes. And would I buy it again? Definitely. So good job, Leatherman. Keep them coming. See what else you got. I saw the other day they posted something about they're putting out a new line that has like magnets in it or something, like design or two material design on the handles. So Leatherman, if you see this and you want me to review it, you know. So thanks for tuning in again. If you like what I was doing today, please like and follow and subscribe. That'd be really cool. I appreciate it. I'm having a lot of fun doing these. I am driving myself slowly crazy fighting Premiere. I don't know how many of you out there do video editing with Premiere, but it seems like it's a device that was specifically created by the devil to drive me crazy. Yeah, I'll keep doing them as long as you guys keep watching them. I don't know what I'm going to review next. If you guys have any suggestions, throw them in the comments down below, and see you next time.